Hello my friends, in this tutorial series, I will introduce all the technical features of Vue JS, whose latest version is 2.6 at the moment. First, we'll be covering all the core concepts that you need to know. Then we will build a complete project together. So let's get started. This is the official site of Vue JS. This will be the source of truth if you have any questions. So always consult the official documentation first. This document is really well written. In this first episode, let's see how to do Hello World using Vue JS. Now in my editor, I just have a simple index.html file here. Now let's go to the Vue JS official site. And we click Get Started. Then click Installation. First, we can see a compatibility note here. It says Vue does not support IE8 or below because it uses ECMAScript 5 features that are unshimmable in IE8. So we should be aware that Vue.js does not support lower versions of IE. By the way, this ES5 feature is object.define_property, which is the building block of Vue's reactivity system. Then we can see this direct script include section. When we start to learn Vue.js, we want to get up and running quickly. So let's use our script tag to include the Vue.js scene. Later, we will use the Vue CLI when we start to build our project. Here we can see there are two versions, development and production. The dev version contains all warnings and debug mode. So for learning purposes, we will use this one. Simply right-click and download the Vue.js library. So I have already downloaded the file. This Vue.js file is the whole library. It's just as simple as that. Now let me go to the index.html file. And we can change the title. Then let me add a div here. And give an ID equals app. Now suppose we want to display a hello world string in this div tag. What should we do if just using vanilla JavaScript? Well, first we can add a script tag. And we can define a variable named app. And then we will use document.getElement by ID. And ID is app. So we'll use this to access this part of the DOM and assign the reference to the variable app. Then we can just do app.innerHTML. And then we will assign the string hello world to it. And let's click save and open it in the browser. And we can see hello world displayed on the page without any problem. Now let's see how to do the same thing using Vue.js. First, let's include the Vue.js file we just downloaded at the top of the header section. And let me comment this out first. Now we will create a Vue instance. Now in JavaScript, if we can use the new keyword, then it means this Vue is actually a function, a constructor function, right? And this constructor function takes one parameter, which is an object. And this object is called the options object. And we will specify a key in this options object called EL or element. And the value will just be hash app, which refers to this div. Then we specify a data object. And we can define the key as content. And the value is the hello world string. Now let's display this property content onto the page. In Vue JS, we'll be using double curly braces, and we can just put a content here. Now let's click Save and open the page in the browser again. And we can see Hello World, same as the vanilla JavaScript version. If we change Hello World to Hello Vue.js, and we save and refresh the page, we can see the new string being rendered. So what's the meaning of this? Let me explain it in detail. First, we'll create a Vue instance. The EL option, the EL key in this object, means the DOM area that this Vue instance is going to manage or take over. This hash app refers to this DOM with ID equals app. So this Vue instance will take over all the stuff inside this div. This concept is very important. In many production projects, this is how we mount a Vue.js app into an existing web page, and the Vue app just becomes part of it. The mounting point in the DOM is just specified here in the EL option. Next, the data option defines a set of data for this Vue instance. It is an object. And then in the HTML element with ID equals app, we can use this double curly brace syntax to display the data like so. Now let's consider this scenario. I will add another div and double curly braces content. Now I have a question for you. What is going to be displayed on the page? Will it display 2 hello world or just 1? Let's click Save and find out. Let me refresh the page, and we can see the second div is displayed without any change. Only the first div's content is replaced. Why? Because this Vue instance is only managing this div with ID equals app, which is specified in the EL option here. But this Vue instance is not managing other parts of the DOM on the page. So it will only replace the content in the first div and won't do that for the second div. So through this example, I believe you have understood the purpose of EL and data option. Now we might also have this kind of requirement, which is to change the content of a div after a certain period of time, say 2 seconds. If we use vanilla JavaScript, we could do this. We will use the setTimeout native function. And we define a callback function here. The second parameter is time, so 2 seconds. And in the body of the callback function, we can change the DOM elements in the HTML. Let's click Save and check the browser. We can see after 2 seconds, the string is changed. This is the old way. It is directly manipulating the DOM. This works perfectly. But after using Vue.js, we don't need to care about DOM manipulation like set in HTML anymore. So how to do the same thing using Vue.js? We can still use setTimeout. Now in the callback function, after 2 seconds, we want to update the content to be from Vue.js. Now we don't need to directly change the DOM. We just need to change the data. So we can do app.$data.content. And we will assign the new string to it. Because for Vue.js, when data changes, the page will change accordingly. This is called reactive. Now let me save it. Let's refresh the page. And we can see after 2 seconds, the content changes. Now let me explain this line a bit here. The app is just a Vue instance, and $data is just this data option. It is an alias of this data option. So through $data, we can access this object, and that's why we can do .content, and we can assign a new string to it. So initially, this page will display hello world. Then after 2 seconds, the data will change. And when the data changes, the page will change immediately. So through this example, we can know that when using Vue JS, we don't need to focus on how to manipulate the DOM. Instead, we only need to focus on managing our data. Whatever you put in the data is whatever to be rendered on the page. Your data changes and your page changes. This is a very important concept. Okay, that's it for this intro episode. See you in the next video.